What's up, Eagles fans? Welcome into the All-22 review driven by AAA. I'm your host, Fran Duffy. The Eagles suffer a tough loss on the road to Miami in South Beach, 37-31. They come back to Lincoln Financial Field. Now, no margin for error situation here down the stretch. 4 divisional opponents to close out the season. The Eagles have got to win most, if not all, of these games, especially against the Dallas Cowboys in a couple weeks. But we'll get into that later. Let's get into some of the things that we saw in this matchup. Not everything bad. We saw some good things. I'll start on the first play on defense. Simple, basic play. The Eagles are in man-to-man coverage. You're going to see Ronald Darby one-on-one here with Devontae Parker. And the other big one here is Kamu Grugier-Hill one-on-one with the back, Kalen Ballage. Offensively, this is a very basic pass concept. You're going to have slant, flat, which against man coverage, typically you're going to be able to see this slant route win. But what's going to happen here is we let this run. You're going to see that Kamu Grugier-Hill, the linebacker, he's mirroring that running back out of the backfield. He's got his eyes here on Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he's trying to mirror the back, Kalen Ballage, to the flat. So in doing that, he gets into the passing lane and ends up colliding with Devontae Parker running the slant. It's incidental contact, so it's not ruled as defensive pass interference. And you're going to see here, if you let this play run, he does a nice job playing through to the end of the down. The ball is thrown, and he ends up finishing at the catch point for an interception. Ronald Darby getting the Eagles defense started off on the right foot here in this game, sets up an interception, gets the Eagles into the end zone here on the opening drive. All right, well, let's get to that touchdown. A touchdown pass from Carson Wentz to Miles Sanders. And one of the things I thought Carson Wentz did a really good job of early in this game was finding the check down, making a lot of late in the progression throws to his receivers, and that might have been to wide receivers, tight ends, or backs. I thought he did a really good job in that first half. And this touchdown on the first third down of the game was a good example of that. To start things off, you're going to get a little switch concept from the Eagles here, where both Nelson Aguilar and Alshon Jeffery are going to switch release up vertically to the top of the field. And you're going to see here, as Carson Wentz takes the snap, that's where his eyes go. He wants to work this bottom part of the field here, this little route concept from the Eagles. So we'll take the snap and let Carson Wentz drop back and see where his eyes go. He's looking to the right. He sees right off the bat this isn't going to open up for him. He doesn't like the picture. So the next part is he's going to work this little high-low concept here in the middle of the field with the 2 receivers to the top. That's tight end Zach Ertz and wide receiver Greg Ward. So he's going to then work this part, but he sees he's got 3 defenders over 2. These guys are taking away those 2 in-breaking routes. So we're going to let this run. Watch Carson Wentz's eyes. He gets his eyes back, and here's what he sees. He sees Zach Ertz getting jammed up. You've got basically 2 defenders on 1 here crashing down on Greg Ward. They leave Miles Sanders wide open on the backside. So Carson Wentz is going to drop back. He doesn't like his first progression to the right, gets to the middle of the field. That's taken away. Does a great job in stride of hitting Miles Sanders on the check down for a touchdown, getting it out early enough that Miles can create after the catch, get the Eagles on the board, make it 7-0 Eagles. So on the first third down of last week's game on defense, the Eagles did a good job of using Nigel Bradham to occupy one of the offensive linemen, help create a sack in the backfield for Josh Sweat. So fast forward to this week, first third down on defense, what do we see? Nigel Bradham up in the line of scrimmage, occupy a guard, opens up a sack here for the second-year pass rusher in Josh Sweat. This time, a little bit different. So we're going to see here, here's Nigel Bradham. He's right up on the line of scrimmage. He's offsides right now, but he's going to step back off the line of scrimmage here in a sec. He's just going to occupy this left guard, kind of take him out of the protection, make sure that he's not a part here for Miami's protection scheme to protect Ryan Fitzpatrick. So you've got a 3-man game here between Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and Derek Barnett, where they're going to loop Derek Barnett inside. Ideally, he's the one that's able to get home because, again, this guard is being eaten up by Nigel Bradham, so he can't help. The other part of this, though, is that you've got a nice one-on-one matchup here between Josh Sweat and the left tackle. So between that stunt from Derek Barnett and the pass rush from Josh Sweat, one of these guys is going to be able to get home. We're going to let this run, and you're going to see exactly how this is going to play out because Nigel Bradham, he's just going to take a couple steps forward, just allow that guard to think that he's coming. He's going to engage that guard. So now he can't help with Derek Barnett, who's getting ready to rush inside. He can't help the left tackle who's left one-on-one with Josh Sweat. The guy who ends up really impacting this play, Fletcher Cox, he takes his man and bench presses him into the back, and Josh Sweat's going to turn the corner here for a sack. We'll let this run. You're going to see Sweat turn the corner, does a good job getting home. Fletcher Cox helps tee it up, and the 2 combine for a sack. First third down, Eagles force a punt on their second drive of the game. So the Miami Dolphins actually march back in this game, take a 14-13 lead late in the second quarter, but the Eagles march back. They go on a nice touchdown drive. Carson Wentz rolls to his right in a scramble situation, finds the rookie J.J. Arcega-Whiteside for a touchdown, and the Eagles jump ahead and take a lead. Now, they want a 2-point conversion to take that 7-point lead, and we're going to see exactly how they get into the end zone here on this 2-point conversion play to Nelson Aguilar. You can see they come out in a little bit of an exotic look here, right, because they want to kind of try and confuse the Dolphins. Don't let them get adjusted to how they're going to line up. So right before you're going to see Carson Wentz here, we're going to let this roll. You're going to see him kind of release the entire offense. Let's line up in the formation that we're actually going to play this play out of. And really the big person I want you to watch here is Greg Ward to start things off, because he's lined up in the slot. He's going to come in jet motion from left to right. And ultimately, this is going to try and look like it's some kind of a sprint out pass play with Greg Ward, Zach Ertz, and Alshon Jeffery all kind of flowing to this side. They want the whole defense to think all the action is going that way. Nelson Aguilar, meanwhile, is going to kind of pretend that he's going to block here, and then he's going to release out. So it's going to be a throwback play to the Z receiver, and that's Nelson Aguilar. And we'll let this play out, and you can see exactly what Carson Wentz is seeing at the top of his drop. There goes Greg Ward in motion. You're going to get the little play fake here, and it looks like it's going to be some kind of an action to his right. Then he's going to drop back, throw this to the left. Nelson Aguilar, perfectly placed ball over the shoulder, comes down with the 2-point conversion. Eagles jump ahead here, 21-14, just before halftime. Was huge for this team going into the locker room. They come out, they score another touchdown, and go up 28-14 early in the third quarter, and we think things are really rolling. And that was huge for this team going into the locker room. So they come out for the third quarter, start of the second half. Miami tries for an onside kick, get the ball back. The Eagles recover. They march down the field, and now they're going to score a touchdown here, make it a 28-14 game. It's 3rd and 5, down in the red zone. The Eagles are expecting man-to-man coverage. And what has been, if you are a follower of this segment of the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, the Eagle Eye in the Sky articles, Eagles game plan, we have talked so much over the last few years about the mesh concept and how it's a staple for this Eagles offense, particularly against man coverage. Against Brian Flores' unit in New England in the Super Bowl 52, they used the mesh play a lot. And here's what the mesh play looks like. You've got the wheel route out of the backfield. That's kind of an alert play for the quarterback, but really the big things you're going to see here are this shallow cross from Zach Ertz, another shallow cross from Dallas Goedert, and a little bit of a sit route from the number 3 receiver, and that is Alshon Jeffery. He's the 3rd receiver, the 3rd progression in this route. If it's man coverage, you're typically going to look at the wheel route, then you're going to look at this shallow cross, maybe this shallow cross, but typically if it's zone coverage, here's the receiver you're going to try and hit. That little ball route right between the hashes. The Eagles actually hit this play numerous times in this game, and I'm going to show you exactly how. Again, the Eagles were expecting man coverage. We're going to let this play out and see that Carson Wentz is going to take the snap. It's not man coverage. It's actually zone. So all Alshon Jeffery has to do is settle into this spot right over the ball, right down the chute here, and Carson Wentz has a nice little strike zone to fit this in. You've got the 2 receivers, these 2 shallow crossing routes. All they're doing is helping to create a window for that throw right here in the middle of the field, because even against zone coverage, these linebackers underneath, they have to try and flow with anything that's working in this shallow part of the field. So the C's kind of part, and you're going to see a wide open throwing lane from Carson Wentz to Alshon Jeffery. We'll let this play out. He pulls the trigger, puts it right on the numbers. You see the play strength there from Alshon to shrug off a tackler and dive into the end zone. Eagles take a 28-14 lead. Unfortunately, not able to hold it. You saw a couple of stalled drives here in the 3rd and 4th quarter. That allowed the Miami Dolphins to bounce back. They scored touchdowns on 5 of 6 drives. The Eagles defense just could not get a stop when they needed it. The offense put up 31 points in this game, just not enough to come away with a W. So the Eagles now have to prepare. Really no margin of error here down the stretch now. You have the New York Giants here at home, Monday Night Football this week. It's going to be a huge matchup as the Eagles prepare now for 4 divisional games down the stretch. They're just going to be pivotal. They've got to basically continue to win out, or at least do one better than the Dallas Cowboys, including getting that win in Week 16. But we are going to cover everything that you need to know about this upcoming matchup with the New York Giants. We've got the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, fueled by Gatorade, with myself and Greg Cosell. Stay tuned as well for Eagles game plan later this week. Myself, Ike Reese, John Clark, Mike Quick, Greg Cosell, all of us will be in to break down everything the Eagles will need to do to win this upcoming game, a pivotal matchup against the New York Giants. But until then, we will see you next week right here on the All-22 Review, driven by AAA.